Welcome to the Road to Retirement. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore, and I'm here with Zach Padden, our host, the man with the plan. Zach, we're going to have a Zach attack again today on the show. Chris and Tony are busy with taxes, and we're looking for some maybe legal advice, like what to do about estate planning, things like that. And I know this is something you help clients with all the time and do there. But I've been great. How are you doing, Zach? What's going on over there?
I'm good. We're getting snow here in Ohio, and I'm sick of it, honestly. I am ready for spring. My parents are in Florida right now sending me pictures of the beach, and I'm looking out my office window at snow, ice, and the brown sludge on the side of the roads, and
Oh,
I'm
well,
just ready for that spring weather.
yeah. Well, let me tell you about my week. And this was from a couple of days ago. I got up in the morning, opened up my iPhone, went to the weather app, felt cold in the house. That was the actual temp for our viewers who are watching. That says -17 with
Oh
a
my
feels like of
god.
-22. So that was our actual temp here. We have some snow on the ground, but we haven't had snow in a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks ago, we got like 6 inches. How about you there? How much snow do you have?
Uh Back home I think we have like 4 inches. At work we have like 2 or 3. It's
Where's
not too
back
bad.
home for you?
So I live in Medina now,
Oh,
which is like
yes.
half hour from our office, and
Sure.
we're hit and miss sometimes. But
Yeah.
I looked out the door this morning, my car was covered again.
Oh, no.
Everything we want to see is just more snow.
Yeah, you gotta yeah, no. I'm ready for winter to be over. We had the Arctic blast or the polar vortex, whatever you call it, and so we've had below zero temps all week. Today is the first day we got up out of the single digits. I think we're gonna get up out of the single digits today.
I don't know how you guys do that. I
I
mean,
don't know why I live here. Yeah, I don't. I have no idea. I ask myself that. Well, that's a common question among Minnesotans. We love our state. We love the people here. But so that's kind of why. But otherwise, the older I get, the less I can deal with winter and cold.
I don't blame you. I mean, if you
Yeah.
told me I didn't have to deal with this winter and cold, I'd say sign me up. Where do I need to go?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Florida. So maybe Arizona. I know Chris Anselmo. In fact, if I felt any better today, my name would be Chris Anselmo. I just want to say that. I know Chris went to Arizona for a couple of days. He's back working hard. It's tax season there. You guys are busy, aren't you?
Yeah, it's probably our busiest 10, 12 weeks of the year. We get a lot
Yeah.
of people in the door, and it's really good for our business overall.
Oh,
We
sure.
get a lot of people in the door, and you get that face to face interaction with them to
That's
then see
nice.
if they do need help for financial planning or estate planning. And everybody needs to get their taxes done.
Well, yeah,
Everybody wants to get that refund. They don't want to owe the government,
right.
and they just wait for that check to come from the IRS.
Yep, exactly. Well, today on the show, let's dig into it because I'm interested in this because I've been dealing with this with my parents, and then my wife and I recently had this set up. But we're talking about power of attorney. Speaking of financial and estate planning, power of attorney is important, right?
Yeah, it's one of the most important tools you can get. More than likely, if you're working with a financial advisor, they're going to want to see that you have a durable financial power of attorney on record. Now, why would they want to see that? Because at some point, you may need somebody to help you. They want you to put it of record with them while you're aware of what's going on. So
Yeah.
they know this is the person that you're trusting. So we have a lot of clients where we'll do these for them. So then if for some reason Tony couldn't contact our office, somebody on his behalf could contact, discuss his affairs,
One of
move
my
money as
kids.
necessary.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because you don't want to all of a sudden have your kids trying to figure out where these documents are or who to contact when we can pre-plan and have this stuff set up for the hopeful never happening terrible times of our lives.
Yeah, my mom is in late stage Parkinson's, and a couple of years ago, she had to go into full time care and started to show signs of Lewy bodies dementia, which
Mm.
comes along with Parkinson's. She's actually maintained pretty well. We're fortunate, but my dad also has issues, cognitive issues. So we went in before they got bad and got all that straightened out. I had to do that with my parents. So they got powers of attorney. So I have full medical and full financial power of attorney. And I'm on with my dad at their bank. So it's so important to set those things up before it's too late. We should have done it before with my parents, and they did have an older power of attorney for me,
Mhm.
but they didn't have a financial power of attorney. They had a medical power of attorney or
Yeah.
medical directive, and those are important as well, just as important. But you've got to have that financial power of attorney in there too. And then my wife and I said, "Hey, you know what? We should do that now in case something happened to us. God forbid." You hate to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about this stuff. It's the elephant in the room, is what they call estate planning, right?
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to think about the bad times. I mean, everybody always wants to talk about the good times, all the great things going on.
Right.
And estate planning takes care of the exact opposite end of that spectrum. We're thinking about, okay, if you're incapacitated, if you pass away, if you're unable to make these decisions, you have a major accident.
Right.
Who's that person they're going to call who's going to know what you want done and have it done? I mean, healthcare wise, you've probably had numerous conversations with your parents about, okay, what are your goals and wishes here? Because you don't want to go into that situation and not know what they'd want.
Oh, yeah. You have to have it planned out. I mean, and long-term care comes into it and everything else that we've talked about. But you're right. You want to make sure their intentions are carried out. You want to have these conversations and you want to have a power of attorney. So, what does a power of attorney do? Like a financial power of attorney, what are some reasons that's so important? What does it do for me?
Yeah, so let's just say your parents are in the nursing home and cannot pay their bills anymore. That financial power of attorney gives you the ability to write checks. You can go to the bank, take care of deposits, withdrawals. You can contact their financial institutions. You can sell real estate. So your parents probably at this point wouldn't need a house anymore, right?
No,
Because
they
they're
don't
going to be
need
in
a
long
house.
term care,
Right.
some kind of nursing facility. You don't need to maintain a home. So then you would be able to, as power of attorney, sell the home.
Yeah.
So things like that come into play where your parents couldn't go to a title agency at this point, sign the documents, sit there, go through all the paperwork and understand it all. You'd be the one who'd have to take care of it. And as power of attorney, that gives you the right to sign all the contracts and paperwork necessary.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
healthcare, that gets a little harder because as long as your parents are of sound mind, they can make their own healthcare decisions.
Right.
But then you're there as the backup for if they tell them that they're living on Mars or something along those lines, and you would be able to jump
Right.
in and help them because you want to make sure that it's the person that you trust
Yeah.
and is going to do exactly what you want. And that's what gets scary here. Who do we really trust to make decisions for us when we can't make our own?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I'm giving Chris Anselmo full power of attorney and financial. No, just kidding. But I do trust Chris, and would trust him with all those decisions. But um, that is so important to have somebody you trust. And so the medical power of attorney works a little different than the financial. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So with the medical, I mean, a lot of times you have like three people listed
Hmm.
and they kind of just follow that list. They'll go down the list. And if they can't
Sure.
get a hold of somebody, they go to the next one.
Yep.
So you want to make sure you kind of do have a backup listed. Like I have my wife, my dad, and my mom listed,
Sure.
and they're all aware of what I would want
Yeah.
because I want to make sure if something happens, one of them can make a decision for me.
Yeah.
I travel with my wife a lot, so if I would want a backup for her in case there's a mutual accident,
Yep.
because then there's somebody listed. Now she probably wouldn't want my dad making her decision; she would want
No.
her mom.
Right.
So even if you're married, your documents can be a little different.
Yep.
You don't have to have the same power of attorneys, which a lot of people have that misconception that they need to have the exact same
Yeah,
goals and
no,
desires as their spouse.
it's individual, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, the issue a lot of people see is like they think that because their wills are very similar, hey, I leave it to my wife or my husband, then I leave it to my kids. They think all these documents need to be the same.
right,
The big thing you want to kind of be on the same page on is like the disposition of your estate, but who
yes,
your power of attorney is you can have it be whoever you want.
Yeah.
Just make sure you trust them. Don't just name
Right.
some random person who doesn't know you.
Right. Right. I mean, like, I'm not going to put Tony Marlette Jr. I'm going to put Chris Anselmo or Zach Patton. That's
Yeah.
I'm just razzing
I
Tony.
know. I mean, there are clients who will ask you sometimes to serve as power of attorney or to serve as like a trustee. And that's when you have to have the conversations with them and be like, hey, what are your goals and desires here? Who would
Yeah.
you want? How would you want this to be handled?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to put their life or their finances in my
No.
hands and then
No.
say, here's what I think they want. I want to be able to be like, okay, I recall this conversation. Here's the specifics. This is what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So, and you would recommend, I mean, you alluded to it at the beginning of the show, but everybody should have a power of attorney set up, right?
Yeah. Once you become 18 years old, you should have a power of attorney set up because
Yep.
that's when you're no longer a child. Your parents aren't the automatic decision makers for you anymore. And if you're going off to school, you start working, things can happen.
Hmm.
I signed one when I was 18 years old because I wasn't at home anymore. I was at school 3 hours away.
Yep.
What happens if I need to do something locally? My dad could take care of it. I get in an accident, my parents are the first call. So things like that are going to change over your life. And my power of attorney isn't the exact same one I had 10 years ago.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But that's how life in estate planning is. It's going to grow, it's going to change, and it's going to mold to whatever your life entails at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So, and they're not, some people say, well, I don't want to pay the money, but getting a power of attorney is not expensive. I mean, especially financially, emotionally, and for your family, uh, the cost is low compared to the savings and the benefit, right?
Yeah. I mean, what happens for a lot of people is let's say you had nothing set up for your parents and then they became incapacitated. You'll then have to go get a guardianship through the court, and every expense has to go through the court. You have to get everything approved. You got to jump through all these hoops.
That'll end up being so costly,
It's way more costly. And sometimes, even if you have power of attorneys, you still need a guardianship. Those situations do arise. But for the most part, a lot of things can be handled with just a simple power of attorney
Sure.
and get things done in a quicker, timelier manner than having to jump through all the hoops that the court's going to set.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. You want to avoid court fees and, extensive attorney fees. Get the power of attorney set up. It's not that expensive, and make sure it's a good one and done right. You
Yeah, it's
know, and don't just DIY, go online. You need to actually make sure that it's set up correctly.
yeah, a lot of people do find documents online that are good. There are
Sure.
documents online that are good, and then there's a lot that they are the opposite. They have a lot of issues. They have holes that are going to get poked in. They don't
Yeah.
cover exactly what you think they do.
Right.
And that's where using a professional is great. And
Yeah.
also, even just don't go to just any attorney. Now, if you called me and said, hey, I got a criminal charge, I'm not your type of attorney for that.
Right.
I have friends, that's all they do. And if they have a probate case, they're not taking that. They're not doing estate planning because that's outside their comfort zone. So you want to make sure you're going to the right type of attorney for whatever, I guess, rules and issues you have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why a lot of people, a lot of attorneys' office, yeah, we can set up a will for you. But I would go to an attorney that specializes in estate planning. That's really important, and that's their specialty or wheelhouse, like you guys. It makes so much more sense.
Yeah. And one of the things that we do have is called this legacy protection program.
Hmm.
So if you have children who are turning 18 and you're a member of our program, which is just a yearly fee where you get like free annual reviews, free updates to your documents, your kids get free power of attorneys when they hit 18.
Wow, that's
So that's
huge.
it's just a thing we throw in because we understand the importance of your children having something set up. So anywhere from 18 to 30, your kids can come in. We would give them documents, make sure they understand what they're doing, just so they start on that right foot of having their financial and estate plans in order.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is a great topic. Financial power of attorney, medical power of attorney. These are so important. And I want to tell you that with my dad, as he is declining his health, the financial power of attorney has been a lifesaver because he's not making great decisions. So I've developed a relationship with the bank. They have the power of attorney on file. And I know my dad's goals. You know, he wants to keep the farm as long as he can, even though he can't live on it. He's renting it out.
Mhm.
I know that what he wants and doesn't want, and I kind of keep an eye that he's not, spending too much money and has enough in there to pay his bills each month. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the good thing is you're able to sit there and kinda control, but still let him maintain as much control as he needs and
Yes.
desires.
He looks over the statements. He has a check card. When they drive him to the store, he can get stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because if
So,
you took all that away, that
oh,
wouldn't go over
no,
well.
nope, nope. And people are like, maybe you should, if your dad, he'll make a bad decision once in a while. And I'm like, no, that's not going to go over. He wants control of his own money, but I also need to be there to. It's kind of like the driver's ed car where I've got my own set of brakes and steering wheel, right?
Exactly. You wanna have that checks and balances, and it's good to
Right.
be able to oversee while allowing him to still maintain his independence. Because if I told my dad, "Hey, I'm taking over this stuff," he would look at me and say, "Yeah, right."
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter how old he would be, what would be going on, it wouldn't
Right.
happen.
Right. Same with
But
my
some
dad.
help,
Yeah.
that's a different story. You're there
Yeah.
as a help to him on things he can't do.
A buffer or help, and like he's getting so he can't I have to write out his checks for him and he still signs them and yeah. So
Yeah, so it's a good system for you guys, and what works for you might not work for everybody,
true.
but having that power of attorney gives you a lot of flexibility
Yeah, you gotta
to help.
have it. You never know what's gonna happen. I mean, and I saw it happen pretty quickly with my parents. So yeah, you gotta
Yeah, and
have it.
that's what people think they have so much time always. We
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, and if your mom and dad are getting older, especially if they're starting to have health issues, make sure they have powers of attorney in place.
Yeah, because you never know when you're gonna need these things. You never know when
Yeah,
life's gonna throw you that curveball. So you wanna be able to make sure your family's prepared for any of these situations.
exactly. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, great show today, Zach. Is there anything else you want to add for our listeners before we go?
I would say just talk to your family, and if you don't have an estate plan and you're above 18, consider getting one. It's a cost-effective way to make sure that your family's taken care of if something does happen to you. And if you need help with that, you can give us a call at 216-485-1040 or reach our website at www.anselmolaw.com.
All right. That's anselmolaw.com. And what's that phone number one more time, Zach?
216-485-1040.
All right. And that does it for today's episode of The Road to Retirement with our host, Zach Patton.